At 85, Cliff Richard finally tells the truth about George Harrison. Cliff Richard was born Harry Roger Webb on October 14, 1940, in Lucknow, India, and emerged as one of the most enduring and beloved figures in the history of British popular music. When his family moved back to England after Indian independence in 1948, the young Cliff experienced the struggles of post-war Britain. Growing up in modest surroundings in Cheshunt, Hertfordshire, he developed a deep love for American rock and roll, especially the sounds of Elvis Presley and Little Richard. That passion became the spark that transformed an ordinary boy into one of the UK's greatest musical icons. By the late 1950s, he was leading a cultural revolution that brought rock and roll to British audiences before the Beatles even formed. In 1958, Cliff Richard burst onto the scene with his debut single Move It, a track now widely considered the first authentic British rock and roll song. With its raw guitar riffs and energetic rhythm, Move It established Cliff as the UK's answer to Elvis Presley. He and his band, The Drifters, soon renamed The Shadows, became household names, defining a new musical era. Their seamless blend of Cliff's smooth vocals and The Shadows' instrumental brilliance created a distinctive sound that would dominate the charts for years. Together, they released a string of hits, including Living Doll, Travelin' Light, Please Don't Tease, and The Young Ones, all of which captured the spirit of the 1960s youth culture and made Cliff a teen idol. As the British invasion of the mid-1960s took the world by storm, Cliff Richard managed to remain relevant and respected, even as musical trends evolved. Unlike many of his contemporaries who faded with the rise of the Beatles, Cliff adapted. His clean-cut image and versatile voice allowed him to shift from pure rock and roll to pop, ballads, and even gospel music. By the late 1960s, he was experimenting with a softer sound, scoring hits like Congratulations, which he performed at the Eurovision Song Contest in 1968, finishing in second place but becoming a worldwide favorite. Cliff's longevity became one of his trademarks. He wasn't just a star for a moment, but an artist who grew with his audience over decades. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, Cliff Richard experienced a remarkable resurgence. Songs like Devil Woman, We Don't Talk Anymore, and Dreamin' brought him success across multiple generations. He remained a fixture on radio and television, constantly reinventing himself while staying true to his wholesome, optimistic persona. His ability to balance spirituality and showmanship set him apart. Cliff never relied on controversy or rebellion to stay in the spotlight. Instead, his genuine passion for music and his deep Christian faith grounded him, earning him respect far beyond the entertainment industry. In fact, his conversion to Christianity in the mid-1960s profoundly shaped his later work, inspiring several gospel albums and giving his career a moral compass that resonated with millions of fans worldwide. Cliff's achievements are staggering in scope. Over a career spanning more than 6 decades, he has sold over 250 million records worldwide, making him one of the best-selling music artists of all time. He is the only artist to have had a top 5 hit in the UK in every decade, from the 1950s to the 2010s, a testament to his adaptability and enduring appeal. His honors include a knighthood in 1995, making him Sir Cliff Richard, the first rock star to be so honored. He has also received countless awards, from Ivor Novello honors to Brit Awards, recognizing both his musical accomplishments and his charitable contributions. Beyond the charts and accolades, Cliff has been a symbol of dedication, perseverance, and class. A man who managed to sustain an unblemished reputation in an industry known for scandal and excess. On a personal level, Cliff Richard has remained a deeply private man, despite decades in the public eye. He never married, choosing instead to focus on his faith, friendships, and music. Over the years, he has divided his time between homes in the UK, Barbados, and Portugal, enjoying a quieter life away from the spotlight when not performing. His humility and kindness have endeared him to fans and peers alike. Those who have worked with him often describe him as a consummate professional, always punctual, always prepared, and always respectful of everyone on set or in the studio. Even in his later years, Cliff's energy and enthusiasm remain undiminished. He continues to tour, record, and connect with fans around the world. His concerts, filled with nostalgia, joy, and heartfelt gratitude, showcase an artist who still loves what he does and appreciates the people who have supported him for generations. When he steps on stage, he doesn't just perform songs. He celebrates a lifetime of music and memories shared with millions. In November 2013, Cliff Richard once again proved that his musical magic had not faded with time when he released the fabulous rock and roll songbook, a spirited tribute to the golden era that first shaped his extraordinary career. The album, a nostalgic yet energetic collection of timeless rock classics, captured the essence of the genre that had defined the early days of British pop. Fans old and new were delighted to hear Cliff's unmistakable voice breathe new life into legendary hits by the pioneers who had inspired him. The album's success was remarkable. It soared to number 7 on the UK albums chart and was soon certified gold, reaffirming that Cliff Richard remained one of the most beloved figures in British music, even after more than 5 decades in the spotlight. 3 years later, in 2016, Cliff followed up with another high-spirited project, just fabulous rock and roll. This album continued the celebration of the music that made him a household name, blending a sense of youthful energy with the polished mastery of a seasoned performer. It featured a mix of fresh interpretations and heartfelt tributes, including a touching virtual duet with his late friend Elvis Presley, a moment that stirred deep emotions among fans around the world. The album's performance was a testament to Cliff's enduring popularity. It climbed even higher on the UK albums chart, peaking at number 4, and sold over 100,000 copies across the country. Few artists in history have managed to maintain such consistent success across so many decades, but Cliff's timeless voice and genuine passion for his craft continued to shine. In the years that followed, Cliff showed no signs of slowing down. He released Rise Up in 2018, his first album of original material in nearly 14 years, marking a triumphant return to songwriting. The album's title reflected his unyielding spirit and his ability to overcome challenges with grace and determination. Fans and critics alike praised its uplifting themes and dynamic sound, and once again, it rose into the UK top 10. He followed this success with music. The Air That I Breathe in 2020, a beautifully curated collection that showcased his versatility and deep connection to the songs he performs. In 2022, he celebrated the holiday season with Christmas with Cliff, a heartwarming album that blended festive cheer with his signature elegance and sincerity. Each of these releases proved that Cliff Richard's artistry transcends generations. His ability to reinvent himself while staying true to his roots has kept his music relevant, meaningful, and full of joy. More than 60 years after his debut, he continues to chart in the top 10, a feat few artists in the world can claim. Through these later albums, Cliff not only honored the rich history of rock and roll, but also reaffirmed his place within it, standing tall as one of the most enduring and influential performers in modern music history. For decades, Sir Cliff Richard has been one of Britain's most beloved entertainers, a singer whose career has spanned over 6 remarkable decades. With a voice that defined generations and a personality that radiated warmth and grace, he became a symbol of endurance in an ever-changing music industry. Now, at 85, Cliff is looking back on his extraordinary life with newfound honesty and reflection, especially about his relationship with another British legend, George Harrison. Their paths crossed at pivotal moments in music history, and the story Cliff now tells sheds light on a friendship that was far deeper and more complicated than most fans ever knew. George was one of the most quietly spiritual people I've ever met, Cliff revealed in a rare recent interview. He didn't talk about it much, but you could feel it in him, that calmness, that search for meaning that never left him. The two men met in the early 1960s when Cliff was already a superstar and the Beatles were still making their climb to fame. Cliff, backed by his band The Shadows, had already helped pioneer British rock and roll, paving the way for groups like the Beatles. George, the quiet Beatle, admired Cliff for his early success and professionalism, while Cliff admired George's deep musicianship and humility. Cliff confessed that their first meeting was not glamorous. It was backstage somewhere in Liverpool, and I remember thinking how shy George was. He didn't talk much, but when he smiled, you could tell there was a lot going on behind those eyes. As time went on, their friendship developed slowly, rooted not in fame but in a mutual respect for artistry and spirituality. Both men were deeply introspective, and while Cliff's faith was rooted in Christianity, George's journey led him toward Eastern philosophy and meditation. "We used to talk about God, but from very different directions," Cliff shared. "I was speaking from my Christian perspective, and George was exploring Hinduism. But I think we both wanted the same thing: peace, love, and truth. He once told me, 'Cliff, all paths lead to the same place if your heart is right,' and I've never forgotten that." These conversations, according to Cliff, were some of the most profound of his life. Despite differing beliefs, there was no argument or debate, only respect and curiosity. As fame intensified for both, their lives took different turns. Cliff continued his long, clean-cut image, focusing on music that reflected his values, while George, through the Beatles, became one of the most influential cultural figures of the 20th century. Yet, Cliff always defended George's spiritual explorations. "People didn't always understand him," he said softly. "They thought he was being eccentric or running from fame, but he was searching for inner peace. That kind of peace is rare when the world keeps shouting your name." The two occasionally met during charity events and industry gatherings. Cliff recalled one evening vividly. "He played the sitar for a small group of us in the corner of a room, and I remember being absolutely mesmerized. It wasn't about performance. It was about emotion. He was expressing something so deep and so real, Cliff admitted that George's music changed the way he thought about his own craft, inspiring him to record songs that carried more personal and spiritual meaning. After George's untimely death in 2001, Cliff said he felt a deep loss. "When I heard the news, it hit me harder than I expected. George wasn't someone I saw every week or even every year, but his presence in my life was lasting. I admired him, not just as a Beatle, but as a man who stayed true to his spirit." Cliff also reflected on George's legacy of peace and love, qualities he believes the modern music industry has forgotten. He reminded us that music should come from the soul, not from the charts. That's something I wish more young artists understood today. Cliff also admitted that, in some ways, he envied George's ability to step away from the spotlight. George had that courage to say, "I've had enough." I never quite managed that. I loved performing too much, maybe, but I admired how he could disappear into his garden, play his guitar, and just be himself. It was a humility Cliff found inspiring and perhaps a little haunting, a reminder of how fame can both elevate and imprison. Now, at 85, looking back on a lifetime of music, faith, and friendship, Cliff says he feels gratitude more than anything. "I'm thankful that I got to know him, the real George, not the Beatle, not the icon, but the gentle man who wanted to make sense of life like the rest of us." His voice trembled slightly as he added, "We were two very different souls walking the same road, and I'll always be grateful for that connection." In his twilight years, Cliff Richard's reflections on George Harrison reveal not only admiration for a fellow artist, but also a profound understanding of human connection, one that transcends fame, music, and even religion. Their friendship, quiet yet enduring, stands as a testament to the shared spirit of two men who sought harmony not just in their songs, but in their souls. And now, with the honesty that comes only from age and wisdom, Cliff's words serve as a moving tribute to a bond that still resonates in the heart of music history.